Bu kan die materialen klingen. Jo koridaki si habotai silk fakok. Chiffon silk. Nima? Bu habotai silk emas. Bu habotai pak. Togridan togri shitoiden. Sismut lako yogon shisis. Bu habotai pak polsa. Tagim tagi ier portlasse. Oh jeez, what happened here? Hey guys, we come from Samarkand today to fulfill something that has bothered me since I first played this campaign. We're gonna do it fully historically correct, within the realms of possibility. But you may wonder, how will we be able to play this campaign historically accurate without the ability to pile skulls into pyramids or bury whole towns alive? We will do with what we have, and that is wiping out every civilization in each scenario. Our first official task in the quest to murder 17 million innocent souls is to capture 3 relics. Well, fuck that. We start the usual way, very inefficiently setting up an economy just outside Samarkand and sending all our beautiful starting scouts on their journey to auto-explore the map, so I don't have to do it myself. They're so stupid and inefficient, Mitsumias. We place a castle outside city walls for an extra layer of protection and start popping out Kashyyyks. Toktamish shows his face for the first time, and we are presented with the first challenge of this challenge. How do we get rid of our allies if we're gonna remain as the only force in the map? While our generals brainstorm a final solution for our allies, the infantry is sent ahead to hit the walls of the White Horde, so they die quicker and we have more space for cavalry. We add another castle outside for more protection, and everyone who's against auto-scouting is wrong. Anyways, the Horde marches on. Micro skills. And the party with the White Horde begins. But after torching some buildings, we change direction to hit Uruzkan in the face with a shovel. Fighting under a castle is never a fun thing, but his death gives the whole town to Toktamish, so it's easier for us. Toktamish gets excited at the thought of new holdings and power, but we have different plans for him. The army continues north, rescuing more lost friends and moving on to the Blue Horde. Who decided for the hordes to be named after colors? Was it a pick out of the hat situation, or did they get to pick? Feels kinda unfair if they could just choose, because Golden Horde sounds a lot cooler than Blue Horde. Anyway, speaking of the Blue Horde, they are off to meet their maker, and our newly built Manganos arrive at Toktamish just as he decides to make himself useful. Too little too late, bitch. Why are they just standing there and blocking the way? Go away, treacherous scum, I don't want an audience. In the east, we arrive at the Eastern Chagatai Khanate, and look at this! Much better naming conventions to call them after their geographical position. The Manganos continue dealing with our allies, and the Eastern Chagatai Khanate's walls begin to feel the fury of our horses. You know what? Eastern Chagatai Khanate is also a bad name. It doesn't roll off the tongue, and ECK is a bad abbreviation like a 3rd division Danish football team. Anyways, Toktamish's new city is turning into a beautiful pile of rubble, and although I complain about their curious units, it does make it easier to bury them in boulders. I should have probably trained actual siege units for this, but it gives me the space to practice the Manganos' aim on my allies shit. ECK's second castle falls, and we have only the Western Chagatai Khanate and Toktamish to rid ourselves of. And Toki won't last very long. Although, should I queue every unit for them to call it quits? Only one way to find out. Yep, that works. Onwards to WCK. God, that sounds even worse. I should have brought siege units for this. The pillaging inside starts wonderfully, and with every military unit we own coming in, nothing should stand for long. The difference that siege units make? Everything is turning to shit quickly for them, and in no time we turn to the final bastion of the Chagatai Khanate. Some lives are lost, but none matter more than the scratched name in the scoreboard. Sadly, there's no trigger for domination victory, so we're still forced to collect the stupid relics. Fine, I'll collect your stupid relics to place in the stupid monastery, so we can achieve stupid religious domination and complete the stupid scenario. They're happy. Transoxiana properly amired, or whatever it is that they did with the relics. On to the next one. In Girkan of Persia, the challenges finally start appearing for us. The main objective consists of destroying 3 out of the 5 cities' castles to defeat them, but we must destroy every enemy. So how will we do that? Almost right, Tamerlane, fast and at the same time. But first let me just very awkwardly select every individual scout and set them to auto-scout the map instead of just selecting all and pressing the button once. Because I might be right about auto-scouting, but I'm still a grade A dumbass when it comes to making things easier for myself. We begin preparations by training more units and admiring how wonderfully right I am always about auto-scouting. It's so nice to have full vision of the map without any effort. Yeah, some lives will be lost, but it's a price I'm willing to pay. We start organizing the troops, and I realize how sweet the devs are by starting me already with Manganos, so we send them up to terrorize Toktamish again. Another ally in the scenario is Sebzevar, who willingly gives us resources and villagers, and not because in real life Tamerlane thought it would be funny to glue 2,000 villagers on top of each other in history's first human centipede. Yeah. Anyways, we group up every rider and head south to start with Zaranj, while the mangonels do their thing to our allies. I appreciate your loyalty and unwavering support. Not. Surprisingly enough, in real life, Timur was very mild to Zaranj, only decapitating some people and robbing them of their artisans. As a secondary objective, we have to build towers around Herat, so we get started with this to kill time. At first, I thought the whole building towers around the city was just a fun little bonus they added in the scenario, but there's an even more fun backstory to it. Apparently, they rebelled after the first siege, and Tamerlane, being the creative person he was, decided to cement the rebels into towers as a public display of affection for their shenanigans. Yeah. Just hearing this, Sebzevar gives us more workers, and we continue building human towers around Herat. Out west, we find Tabriz, and are greeted by rocks. Not cool, Tabriz. Herat is chosen as the first target, and we focus our efforts on it, with more castles coming along to speed up the process. The city is already burning slowly, so we give a bit of attention to Toktamish, who has been pouting for a while, expecting some bouldering. We finish building the towers and send a fresh new batch of rabbit horse riders to help out in Herat. Because this is good, but this is better. The real difficulty here lies in making sure the castle doesn't fall, or we will complete a third of the objective, and pushing it as far as we can gives us more room for mistakes. So we destroy everything else instead, and send just a small contingent to chip away at the castle in a manageable way. We monitor the castle's HP until we reach the maximum risk we're willing to take and pull away the troops. I can't imagine Toki would be happy with how we're treating his camp. Oh, never mind. Thanks for the troops, buddy. With Herat right where we want them, oh, and Toktamish also out of the way, we move the mangonels to Sebzevar and set our sights on Sultaniye. Just like Zaranj, Sultaniye got off pretty easily for Tamerlane standards, and no notable atrocities were recorded here. Isfahan, the one sending rams to us here, on the other hand, got the proper Tamerlane special, but I'll get into it when we get there to teach them a lesson. Speaking of teaching a lesson, the mangonels started wreaking havoc in Sebzevar already, because they have been nice, but nice isn't historically accurate. Sultaniye is very awkwardly built on the map, so we take a lot of unnecessary damage clearing the area. How are you still speaking? I thought I killed you for the second time. After leaving just the castle standing on land, we turn to the docks outside the city to minimize their carbon footprint, but just like the city, this is awkward central, and the army is just stuck on the pier. We built docks to try and facilitate everything, but the chaos continued, and we traded a full army for just 2 docks. Another army was primed and ready, so not a lot of time was lost, and we rolled down to Zaranj to perform our duties. A sweet elephant opened the gates for us, and we left the army inside roaming free to guide the newly built armada to take over the Caspian Sea. There wasn't much resistance, and the final dock was destroyed, with the castle becoming the next target. However, we found out that leaving the army roaming free was a bad idea, and everyone died. Just like leaving the boats attacking the castle, for they were all sunk. Cost of doing business, and we march again with another army, this time a bit more organized, and focusing more on leaving their castle as the last standing structure. In Sebzevar, the dismantling of the city continues as planned, and we only have a few more buildings left. Ah, fuck. I forgot about Zaranj. The first city fell, and now we only have room for one more mistake if we want to wipe the map of everyone. We gather another army and march towards Isfahan down south, the city where the current playstyle probably fits best because Tamerlane did his most famous shenanigan here. The city originally surrendered without a fight, and Timur was actually merciful and only left a garrison to collect taxes. But some smart-ass citizens thought rebelling was the better option and killed the garrison, while Tamerlane was still camped outside. So he went and killed literally every single man, woman and child. About 100,000 of them. But it doesn't end here. He told his army to take the skulls and make pyramids of them inside the city. And chroniclers' accounts vary between 20 to 40 pyramids. Yeah. Anyways, we remove most of the army from the city and leave a field to chip away at the castle until it's time to bail from the area and leave it burning eternally. Although I got a bit daring and sent a lone Keshik to beat it alone until there was only 3 HP left, and put him in defensive mode so I could kill it in 1 hit. Sultaniye was presented with the same treatment, but we left the castle with a lot more HP because that town fucking sucks. The dominoes started falling into place. Sebzevar was destroyed. We only had to put Tabriz back in its place and make sure that when the time came, all castles would fall down at the same time. No matter how difficult it was to make sure the soldiers didn't die to them. Sadly, I got distracted. Tabriz fell when I wasn't looking, and we had to perform the final move with absolute synchrony to be able to destroy everyone. Using control groups like never before in this channel, we assigned the 3 different parties to attack at the same time. And although the timing wasn't exactly perfect, every name was struck at the same time. Which triggered Toktamish being a dipshit, which we luckily prepared for, and he was gone before it was a problem. And Tamerlane was Girkan in Persia, or something like that, signaling a third of the plowing completed? In Harbinger of Destruction, we start where we left off in Persia, in a slap fight with Toki. But beating him to a pulp is not the final objective that must be ignored. Instead, we must destroy 2 of the 3 enemy cities, Sarai, Astrakhan and Azov. So the tactic here is basically the same. Destroy them all at the same time, or wipe one out and time the other 2. The beginning of the scenario is the usual: build a castle, set up production and an economy, and find a loser to bully around us. In this case, Ryazan, which in Tamerlane's case wasn't affected by him, but hey, they give us all siege weapons, so I won't tell if you don't tell. And we ordered some siege rams straight away, because the steel-clad turtles of doom are my everything in this game. Sarai has shit everywhere, so we clean it up for them, something they didn't find very entertaining. Which in turn we didn't find entertaining, so we set their town on fire. Reinforcements arrived from Samarkand, and we used to set more of Sarai's shit on fire. While setting up for a 2-pronged attack, some Italian dickhead starts attacking us, and you know, when in Rome. Following the punishing of Genoa, we tribute the Bulgars some wood for them to join us, and we notice that Toki is up for shenanigans, building a wonder in Astrakhan. So right after sending the Genoese back home, we march to Astrakhan with a new army, cleaning the nature around from pesky markets and towers. Astrakhan acts like a spoiled child when we arrive, but we storm in with overwhelming force, disable their army, and take a steaming dump on their construction site. We stick around to do more damage to the city while the siege reinforcements arrive from the main camp. With the rams arriving, dismantling the city becomes trivial, and the only challenge is making sure the castle survives. So we have wiggle room to destroy the others. But not without reducing the castle's HP to an absolute minimum with a small number of units, before bailing from the city. Up north, we knock on Azov's doors and walk in when they gracefully open for us. While they pester Azov, we start training some onagers for our allies and send the army from Astrakhan to assault Sarai from the south to keep momentum with what we have. It's not the greatest idea, but the Rams managed to snag a castle before dying. Wait, are the Rams killed or destroyed? Anyways, the assault in Azov also goes terribly, and we achieved nothing with it. Time to punish the Bulgars for my oversight. It's nice that they're still in the Dark Age, so everything just melts by the onagers. The multitasking is bonkers here, and while Bulgars suffer, a new army punishes Sarai for existing, and another platoon of onagers starts spanking the Golden Horde. The final Bulgar market falls along the people, and we send the onagers to the other Golden Horde base. Sarai continues suffering under our wrath, and stop watching me, I'm shy. After taking down the first 2 castles, Sarai becomes a walk in the park. We beat their castle to an inch of its existence, and pull away before it falls, turning our focus once again to the Golden Horde, and their awkwardly spaced building and curious army. We send another free-hitting platoon to Azov, and continue taking pot shots at the Golden Horde. There's gotta be an easier way to do this. I refuse to believe this is the most efficient way. But for now, it will have to do. And it does do, for the Golden Horde is no more. Only the main objective remains, and we arrive at Azov for the 3rd time, to finish this once and for all. It takes some time, but we free the world of whatever they did to upset us here, leaving us with just the big problem left, defeating Astrakhan and Sarai at the same time. We place 2 groups of Kashyyyks around, and without an actual problem, both castles fall at the same time. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Destruction Harbinger by Timur himself, and the quest to wipe off everyone from the game advances to India. Rumors have arrived that Delhi is not as religious as we would like it to be, so we are here to show them some piety. This is probably the coolest piece of history in all of the campaigns. Tamerlane used actual flaming camels to scare Delhi's war elephants, and that's what broke their lines during the battle. Of course, after Timur executed 100,000 prisoners he was bringing along to reduce the chance of rebellion. Yeah. Very well done to whoever decided to add this to the scenario. Anyways, flaming camels turn the tides of war, and we can focus on what's important. To change a bit the flavor of the challenge, instead of having to time the destruction of the enemies, we are now timed ourselves, having 90 minutes to kill everyone, leaving the Delhi garrison for last. There's literally no time to waste, so we ride east to deal with the outlying villages. They are villages, so committing atrocities is pretty straightforward, and little by little all buildings catch fire. While all this happens, the villagers start setting up new production spots, and the new troops are sent west to deal with the other outlying villages. It should not be diminished how much damage Tamerlane caused here. Those 100,000 executed prisoners happened before he even touched the city. Once he got in, the massacre only amplified, and most houses were burned with their inhabitants still inside. Yeah. Anyways, with the outlying villages pretty much out of the way, the production grew bigger outside the walls of Delhi, and research for better killing methods intensified. But one question remained. Who was the Timurid army, and how do we get rid of it? Until I noticed a single barrack in the west dying to get mangonelled. It was time to move into Delhi. Oh wait, there are more villagers here. Now it's time to move into Delhi. The city is protected by 2 layers of walls, towers and castles. But we have an infinite supply of battering rams. Curry this, you fucking casuals. To speed up everything, we also declared war on Delhi itself, because no one is safe when we are around. Not even allied barracks. Rams were producing like rabbits and being sent straight away to the front lines. Some may say it's cruel to disrupt an ecosystem for personal gain, but I have never seen anyone complain about seeing rams in the wild, regardless of where they were. I'm not gonna lie, there were points here where the destruction was so quick and intense, I got a bit turned on. Apparently 90 minutes is more than plenty to do this, but I'm on standard difficulty because I'm too lazy to try it at a harder difficulty, so what the fuck do I know? No one watches this for good gameplay anyways. There isn't much to tell or talk about here. We were performing exactly how it's expected for a Tamerlane story. Plenty of time left on the clock. Unstoppable cavalry archers and rams. Times are good when you decide to genocide a whole city. Or, I would imagine. It may be hard to believe, but I haven't committed any atrocities in my life. Yet. The city of Delhi falls, whatever that may mean. It's not like they had any units or anything worth anything besides buildings. And with a short stroll north, we tumble down the last castle, with the garrison alongside it. Another complete annihilation for the Sultan of Hindustan. Or to Sultan the Hindustan? I don't know. Off to the Bermuda Triangle of peace talks, the Middle East. The 5th part of the Crimes Against Humanity saga brings us to a land where peace is always an option, but never chosen. In the Levant, we must raise 10,000 gold to continue our shenanigans around the world. Or in our case, we must stay below the 10,000 mark so we can fully wipe the map of enemies. Right off the bat, we have the Georgians minding their own business, and we can't have that. So we load the starting rams and send them packing towards the Georgian stronghold. They let us in a sad attempt to comply, but compliance is not an option. If they can't behave with each other, there will be no each other. The city is leveled in seconds, and we march down to finish their outside outpost. 1 down, 6 to go. Just south of the Georgians, a Turkmen village gracefully offers to help us out, and for some reason our whole army falls in love with their market. Like they refuse to move from there. What the fuck is this? Leave the market alone, you perverts. Oh, thank God, at least auto-scouting still works. In a stroke of genius, I sent them to guard the town center, and they seem to forget about the supermarket love. Yay, time to punish Aleppo for this. Did you guys know that Timur repeated the little prank of Isfahan here? Although the city was smaller, so only 20,000 people turned to skull pyramids. Aleppo is defeated, and we continue bulking up to deal with the stronger enemies on the map. And Damascus is the next course in the cultural dinner that the Timurid Empire had. The city knew what was coming towards them before they even got close, because news travels fast when it's about genocidal maniac making architecture out of human bones, and they hired the Egyptian Mamluks for backup, hence why they are an enemy here. But unlike the scenario, the Mamluks had to pull back before Tamerlane arrived to help out in Egypt, so Damascus was left alone. The city surrendered after a month of siege and let them in, so they sacked the city, but before leaving the army was given a free pass to have fun for the weekend as a way to unwind and relax a bit. And have fun they did, by crushing people in wine presses, starving children to death, burning citizens alive, and other even more unsavory methods. Yeah. Damascus falls into oblivion, and I notice some of our troops get ahead of schedule and begin plundering Armenia. Good on you guys, way to show initiative. Murder those children. Back to the original plan, we march onto the Mamluk camp south of Damascus and start peppering them with 90 kilo stones from out of range. I'm so proud of you guys. We slowly push deeper against the Mamluks, but the actual Mamluks hit like a truck and we end up losing all of our troops. Armenia will pay for this. The most annoying thing about this scenario is the trade carts everywhere. Our army has too much ADHD to be able to focus on anything like this. It takes some time and organization, but Armenia bites the dust, and only the Mamluks and Baghdad remain. The Mamluks were already weakened from the previous attack, so we prioritized them, and the second strike is a tad too strong for them to handle. Eat shit, pharaoh fucker. Without wasting time, everyone gets sent to Baghdad. I gotta say, I'm surprised by how easy it was to handle the objective. 10,000 gold is quite a lot. We have been keeping it under 3,000 this whole time. Anyways, you guys want to hear a story about Baghdad? Back then, the city was not the dumpster fire that it is now. It was enlightened, bright, accepting, and Tamerlane even spared the city out of respect for its culture. And then the Sultan of the city decided to flee in panic and started calling Timur as mentally as he is physically retarded or something like this. Why? Why would you insult someone like him? Anyways, Timur finds the insult so funny that he turns back, besieges the city, kills 90,000 citizens, and erects dozens of skull pyramids out of spite. It's not even the end of it. He gave his soldiers a quota of 2 heads each, and whoever didn't fulfill it was beheaded instead. Yeah. Baghdad falls, and the scenario dramatically ends without any warning or anything. Levant properly scourged or whatever they did, and only one obstacle remains. After many letters back and forth, the 2 most powerful men at the time decided to meet up in Anatolia for a showdown. And we are here to make sure it's worse than it was at the time. We start with 30 minutes to prepare for the onslaught that's coming our way. There are plenty of side quests to do, so speed is of the essence. And we march on immediately to ensure strength beyond strength, starting with their closest auxiliary camp just east of us. Following the planned path, we move along to the Turkoman camp further east, who asks for 5 elite Kashyyyks for loyalty. A bargain if I ever saw one, so we leave 5 units here. We then plunder an Ottoman trade post, meet the Wallachian Voivod, who asks for 500 gold to fuck off. Clear the Ottoman farms in the far east, destroy more Ottoman camps, and then more Ottoman camps. We then tribute 500 gold to the Wallachians, and they become the only group of people to come out of this run on profit besides us. Now that I'm thinking, should I have killed them as well? Completing the circle around Bayezid's camp, we pass through the first Polish corridor in history. Are Polish corridors a thing well known everywhere? You know, the children's game where kids line up both sides of a hallway and beat the living shit of whoever walks in the middle? It was massive when I was a kid in Brazil, and supposedly comes out of a strip of land in Poland that was stuck for a long time between Germany and Russia. 7 minutes until Bayezid attacks, and we have finished every secondary objective, so preparing is all that's left on the menu. Naturally, I do nothing, and Bayezid announces the attack via Discord. Time to turn the Sultan into a goddamn footrest. Which, by the way, ever wonder why the couch's footrest is called an Ottoman? Oh wow, that was quick. And everything turned yellow. There's gonna be so much to destroy now. Anyways, legend says that after defeating the Sultan, Tamerlane put him in a cage and paraded him alongside his army to show his victory against the mighty Ottomans. And after that, brought him back to his camp to be his footrest while the Sultan's wife served him. Accounts of this vary a lot from what I've read. Some say Timur showed mercy, some say Bayezid bashed his head against the cage until he died to spare himself to humiliation. But the footrest is the most realistic one to me, considering everything else he did. Damn it, I went on a tangent so long I didn't even think I'll be able to go on a tangent about Tamerlane and the Crusaders. He beheaded everyone. Yeah, nothing too crazy or special. I think at this point he was running out of horrible things to do to his enemies. Crusaders have been beheaded, leaving us with the Ottoman Empire, Bayezid, and our allies, the Turkmens. At this point, I have the brilliant idea to actually turn on the Turkmens instead of taking forever with onagers, and the Rams become rabid inside their camp. It was time to start preparing for the final assault. Bayezid was going to pay for whatever he did, which was probably misspelling Timur's name or something like that. We make sure to wipe out every trace of the Turkmens and scratch them off, and went on to plow through the Ottomans. Because the odds weren't already enough in our favor, they opened the gates for us, and the party started within the city walls. At that point, we had reached critical mass of siege rams, so the destruction was quick and systemic. The Ottoman camp was small and awkwardly built, which took some time to navigate through, but with time, love, and a lot of lube, anything can fit. Bayezid's castle stood alone until I noticed the Ottomans hadn't resigned yet. Their cannon galleons were in the lake, laughing at me and shooting at my army from a safe distance. It takes me a lot of time and tries to destroy them, and I was getting furious at this and my incompetence. But they made a mistake, so fuck them. After that, I just had to poke the castle a bit, and Bayezid threw in the towel, ending the scenario and the campaign, with every single AI properly beaten to death. We end by turning Lil Bitch Bayezid into an actual Ottoman, giving life to the name of the furniture. How fun is that? I would have Timur here to say goodbye as well, but I think all this carnage broke him a bit, so I had to tie him up. It's been a while since anything came out, life has been a bit busy, and I had no motivation to do anything, but this was fun. Let's see what else comes out of this. Before closing this, we joke a lot about horrible things, but some of the stuff that I left out that he did actually made my stomach turn. He is one of the worst to ever set foot on Earth. I just wanted to make this clear in case someone thinks I'm glorifying what he did. I'm not. It's horrible. Read up on it. I left a lot of details out. It's horrible.